Hi guys, it's Stephanie here with Boom Roasted, and I'm with my special guest, Miss Shauna Bunn, with Harvest Outreach Ministries. We are going to be chatting today, but we have been sitting here drinking our coffee for a bit, but we had cold brew with some English toffee syrup in it, and it was really good.
It was so good.
And obviously it's been pretty good because we've drunk it down. Yeah, so I did make the cold brew myself. It is a great method if you have acid issues for sure. It's very highly caffeinated, but super smooth and strong.
So good.
Yeah. And your order that you put in with me was strong and sweet.
Strong and sweet.
I made the order.
You made it perfect.
So,
Thank you.
So today we are talking about the ministry that you work with, which is Harvest Outreach here in Hannibal. And they have several branches. So you have the women's house, the men's house, and Loaves and Fishes.
Yes.
Which at Loaves and Fish, they have a hot meal that they serve every evening, Monday through Friday. Yeah. And then they serve, also they give away food for Feed America, right?
Weekend boxes, yep.
Yes.
On
so
Friday.
Every Friday. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a food program that kind of, you said was birthed out of Harvest Ministries for the men and women's.
For the houses. Yeah, that's how it started.
Okay.
And it's just,
grown into something else.
Grown into something else.
Yeah.
She's got her own ministry down there.
Billy, and it feeds a lot.
Yes.
They feed a lot of meals down there. Our church actually sponsors a meal there once a month. I think it's once a month. It might be twice a month now. But it's amazing. I only hear positive things coming from what's going on down there. And Billy's got a heart for it because she's been there. She's walked that walk.
Yes, she has. She's got a whole ministry down there. She does very good.
She does.
It's a lot for her.
Yeah.
She does an awesome job.
Yeah, she does. Perfect. She's a part of that committee that I'm on too, that Tri-County Alliance. Uh-huh. And so we see her on a regular basis too, and it's good. It's so good that there's so many different outreaches in our town that we can collaborate and come together and learn more about that, because, and we haven't talked about this before, but our church is bringing an addiction recovery center for men into our town, and we're not enemies.
No, we don't. We're not gangs.
No, we're not.
Right? We're
fellow kingdom workers
doing it for the glory of God.
That's right.
And we've had no empty beds in the men's just recently, maybe one or two. So that tells you the need is very great.
Yeah, it's great.
I think we could all work together, and I think it'll be.
I think so too.
It'll just.
And there may be times, I think, even where there could be like, maybe there's men that come through our houses that we're not able to help, that maybe you can, or vice versa. Yes. So hopefully we're going to be able to work together and and help each other. Yes. Because we want the same things.
Yes.
So, and that's to heal our communities, mm-hmm. and to help people thrive and to go after Christ, because that's the only way they're going to be able to do it. That's what I believe anyway. Yes. I think these other recovery programs that are not Christ-centered programs are putting Band-Aids on it, because it's got to change your identity or they're going to go back. So I think it's a rare case that walks away from addiction apart from Christ. But so I want to know how you came to be connected with Harvest. And I know that a part of that is because you walked through addiction yourself.
Yes.
And so you were young when you started your journey. So kind of give me a summary of what that looked like.
Okay. So I have to go back to the roots. I have to go back to look at, what was going on from an early age, because I started using fairly early.
Yeah.
I grew up in a home. My dad was a fireman. Together, they had 5 children. I was the youngest until the age of 9 when they divorced. So that first part of my life, what I remember is the fighting.
Mm-hmm.
The abuse, the anger. Those are my memories. Mm. So I wasn't real close with my dad at that time in my life. We moved to Texas. My mom remarried. There was a lot of active alcoholism. Mm. And with that, comes abuse. And so by the time I moved back to Hannibal to live with my dad at the age of 13, I was pretty much out of control.
Yeah.
I wanted to run and drink and, party on the weekends. And, I'm back living with somebody that is like a stranger to me.
Yeah.
He had remarried. she had like 6 kids. So we had a full house.
Yeah.
And I just kind of slipped under the radar.
Yeah.
And I think back and I think about the the pain and the stuff that I put upon my dad, at that time in my life. And, and later on, God, he restored that and I was able to make amends to that. And I took care of my dad the last couple of years of his life and I got to know him as an adult.
Yeah.
And, and the same with my mom, they just did the best they could with
because
what
I think
they had.
you have to offer them grace too, because they were walking their own journeys.
Yes. My mom was, she was given away at the age of 2. So I'm sure that played a part in her decisions. She didn't know who her dad was. She died in 2011. I had like 6 months sober, but God was gracious and let me be there with her.
Yeah.
And, about 4 years ago, I took a DNA test just to see. And, within 2 hours, I knew who my mom's biological father was.
Really?
Unfortunately, she was already gone. She didn't get to know that. But, so God just puts the pieces, you know. So at the age of, teenage years, I was, just out of control, running away, not coming home, running the streets. 16 years old, I'm pregnant and married. And, and that's really when I wanted, God to make sure I had a healthy baby. And that's really when I started praying to him. It didn't last, 19 years old. We're young and, that marriage didn't work and we're co-parenting and, by that time I'm in the bar scene and, I'm working second job in the bars and that become my life. And in my mind with my daughter, as long as I gave her good clothes and good toys, that was being a good mom. And it was things that, it was so distorted because I really wanted to be a good mom, but that in me, it just running and,
Well, probably also like surrounding yourself with people that were living a similar life.
Oh, yes.
Like they had kids and they were in the bar and they were drinking and, and their kids seemed fine. It just didn't seem abnormal.
No, it's just what we did.
Yeah.
And then the smoking the marijuana every day and, and with the bar scene comes other things.
Yeah.
The binging of the cocaine and the meth and, so that was, I really wanted to come home at night. I really did. I just never could, I could never, it was like I was a wild animal in a cage that just couldn't be tamed. And I was searching for something. I just didn't know what it was. And I know today it was God.
Yeah.
That peace that only comes from him. And I try to find that peace in people and in substance and things. So what really brought me to Christ was in 1996 again, it was a week of partying, Tom Sawyer days. And my husband at the time, he was in the JCs. And that's just what we did. Everything was surrounded by the alcohol. But I knew there was something not right. And so I checked myself into the Newman Clinic. And they wanted to send me to AA. And I'm like, well, that's crazy. Everybody drinks the way I do,
Again, just it was your circle. It just seemed normal.
Yeah, everything we did was surrounded by the alcohol. It was socially acceptable. And so I and they said, well, you can have God in your life, and I'm like, really? You can have God in your life? And I thought I knew. There was periods of time, like I said, that I would pray, but I'd never read the Word. I'd never read the Bible. I didn't even know who this Jesus person was.
Yeah.
And
isn't that crazy?
But God put people, in my path to mentor me, really good people. And I'm they're still near and dear to my heart. So that's really when my recovery journey started, and that's when my relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
And that's when the conviction started, and that's when I would, I wasn't willing to give up those people, those places and things. Yeah, I can give up the places, but those people,
Yeah.
and in doing that, I continued to leave that door open where on a rough day or maybe a good day, I'd be like, I can do this. I can handle this,
Yeah.
and again. It was the insanity over and over again.
Yeah.
So in 90, in 98, 99, I went on a binge. My daughter was at her dad's for the weekend, and started probably with just, maybe drinking a little bit. And the next thing you know, you're at the dope house, and come the end of the weekend, I'm in respiratory distress because I smoked too much meth, And my daughter's dad was like, she's coming with me, And by God's grace, he was into church, and he grew up in that. I didn't grow up in the church.
Yeah.
And you have a year to get it together, and then she can come back. 9 years later, or whatever, 17, is when she came back, because instead of using it as a motivator, I use it to self-destruct. And they say the progression gets more progressively worse.
Because you weren't getting high the same way.
Right.
And it wasn't,
No.
and you'd said before that it just wasn't as much fun anymore.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't like recreational at this point.
No.
You were having to do it.
Yes. And it's not a respecter of person. And so now I'm doing it because I have to.
Yeah.
2001, for some reason, I could binge, be gone for a week, then, be okay for a little bit. But for some reason, in 2001, I crossed over a line. And from 2001 to 2006, I didn't see a sober breath. I got full blown into my meth addiction. Within 6 months, I'm having to get high a certain way. And all those things that I said I'd never be, I suddenly become. And and it took me to my lowest.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that I gave my heart to Christ in 1996 because the conviction, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
But he showed up, he showed up every time. And the grace, that he gave me,
probably didn't feel great in the time when he showed up, because it was like, oh, you're here.
Yeah.
I'm in dark places. I'm trying to do bad things. And then
Yes.
you're here. But then it
Yes.
was that reminder of
it
you're
was,
here.
please just take me out of this.
Yeah.
So I know that life,
Yeah.
and I got to the bottom.
Yeah.
I got to the bottom before I was able to surrender.
Yeah.
And actually let him do his work in my life.
Yeah.
So, self-medicating the marijuana, I know that complete abstinence, and I have to not put anything in there if I'm going to be the person that God has called me to be.
Yeah.
And
so you had to change those people, places,
had to
and
change
things.
it all. Even those people that, that I didn't want to let go of were like, you don't need to come around here. It's just too much for us.
Yeah.
So, by God's grace, I had those relationships with the people, in the AA and around the tables, and, they were there for me.
Yeah.
And they stepped up, and, those family members, that dad, he showed up.
Yeah.
So I'm very blessed to have the family that I have, because a
Yeah.
lot of people don't.
No, because they end up, a lot of time, addicts, what I see is they just burn all the bridges, and families just quit because, and I understand it. I'm not judging families that do, because they get stole from, they get violently abused, all the things. And I get it, and kids get, messed up in the middle of it. And a lot of times they do end up with nothing and no one, so that is a blessing that you were able to get to the bottom and still have people that were there for you. So praise God for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because that community support and the people that we deal with, even coming through the ministry that we do now, the ones that have people and have community are the ones that can make it.
Yeah.
The ones that we're having to help find community for, trying to get plugged in with the community, those are the ones that are the hardest to get back on track, because they don't have anybody to help teach them these skills and say, hey, you can do this, you can get through this, and just link arms with them and help them walk through whatever this change is for them. But so that's awesome that you had that, because that was definitely what was probably holding you up, as you was walking through this brand new life of being clean, and then here you are clean. And I bet you never thought in a million years, like, I'm going to work for a recovery place.
I had to, meetings are great.
Yeah.
I'm never going to take that away.
Yeah.
Meetings are great, but you can get just as complacent and stagnant by just going to meetings.
Yeah.
You're not growing in the Lord. And so for the first 15 years of that, I really did struggle. It wasn't until 2011 that I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm going to make you my Lord. You're it.
Yeah. Because there's a difference.
Started changing.
That's interesting that you say Lord too, because accepting Jesus as your Savior, Jesus, you saved me. You're my Savior. I want you to come in my life. You saved me from sin. I don't want to go to hell. All those things. That's different. Jesus is Savior, but Jesus is Lord. I want you to lord over my life. I want you to be king. I want you to sit on the throne of my heart. Now that's a whole different thing. I'm surrendering myself to you at that point.
Yes.
And so that is a different step.
I mean, that's, it says if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, believe in your heart, you shall be saved.
Yeah.
It's not saying it's now I'm confessing you're my Lord.
Yes.
And what is the Lord? He is over my life. I am serving you now.
Right.
And that doesn't come easy for people like us. It really
we're
doesn't.
used to serving me.
We're serving self. Selfishness, self-centeredness.
Yeah.
That's the root. And so, and so in 2011, I'm like, Lord, you're my Lord now.
Yeah.
I'm going to serve you. I'm going to live for you. And, and that's what I've done. And that's what I try to do. And never did I think that he would put me in the position of, being a director of a woman's sober living house. Never did I think he would put me in a position of everything that he did prior to that, you're going to go to work at the treatment center. You're going to be a recovery specialist. You're going to be a counselor, recovery counselor. Those weren't things that I had a desire for.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people when they get sober, I want to counsel. Well, okay, you have fun with that because that's not what I want to do.
Right.
So everything that I thought I wanted, I'm doing the opposite of. And really, that's what God was doing to get me to this point. Now, I don't know if he was preparing me. I don't know if this is where I'll stay.
Right. It might be a stepping stone to the next place.
It may be.
Yeah.
Because when I was asked to come and help, I'm like, I just retired from the treatment center and to go to work for my husband. It was a lot easier, and so I don't have time for that. Okay, I'll come and help. And, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And for the first 3 years, I volunteered. That's what I did. And people, they thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Why are you putting everything into that? And you're not even getting paid. But that's what I felt God was calling me to do.
Yeah. And you can't, like, when you say yes to the Lord, the blessings that come from that's what the world doesn't understand. Like, God gives in different ways. And when we surrender that, and you and I both have talked about this, we have husbands that are our number one fans, and they're fully supportive of if we say we've heard from the Lord and this is what we're called to do, they believe us.
Yes.
And they support us and financially support us. And so me and you both have been in positions where we work for ministries that we weren't getting paid for, but we're working full time.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a full-time job.
Yes.
And so but we're working as volunteers as far as the pay goes. But, and here I am, as a person who I did go to school for this. Like, this is what I went to school for, is to work in ministry. But to the world, it looks so crazy. Like, what do you mean you're not getting paid?
Right.
You're working 40 hours a week for what? Well, for Jesus, for the kingdom of God. My husband came home one day and he was like, I got this bonus. He was telling on me all about it. And he looked at me, he's like, why aren't you more excited? I was like, well, I guess all my reward is in heaven. And he just started laughing. I was like, no, seriously, like, I'm really happy for you. But that is where my reward has to lie, because I'm not, with what I'm doing, where I am right now. The reward is in heaven.
It has to be.
It is.
Listen, everything we have, and this is what I come to realize, everything we have is just loaned to us.
That's exactly right.
We're not taking that.
No.
At 6 months, my mom passed away. I got to be there.
Yeah.
I got to watch my dad take his last breath. I got to take care of him and help him and get to know him. All that's gifts.
Yes.
It's painful, but it's a gift.
It is a gift.
He didn't take anything with him.
Yeah, that's right.
So everything I have today is loaned to me. So if I was to pass this world, everything I have is somebody else is going to use.
Yeah. And what are you going to take with you? What you sowed for the kingdom of God is what you're going to take with you.
Yes.
So I think we're so, like, when we talk about all of that, about what are you getting? What are you getting? What are you getting? It's still such a selfish thing to think about, because in a moment, your parents may have died when they were older, but like, my brother was snatched from this earth when he was a young man. Like, we don't know what's going to be waiting for us. It could all be over in just a blink.
Yes.
You're
right.
And so just sowing into the right things, because we don't know when that's going to be, so saying yes to the kingdom of God with what we have. And when it looks like, how could I say yes to working full time and not making any money? Well, if Jesus says to go, he's going to make a way, and I've never done without.
Never.
And in fact, I mostly have walked in abundance, and I'm thankful for that, because I know that I'm doing what God has called me to do, and so you have to roast the excuses when people are just like, that there's no way you can just do that. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. And like, we go on these mission trips. I don't pay for these mission trips. I couldn't pay for these mission trips. These mission trips run $20,000 to $25,000 every time we go. That sounds like a huge amount of money. I don't make that much money in a year right now. But why do we go, and why do we spend that money? Because souls don't have dollar amounts.
That's right.
When Jesus sends us to go, if one person is led to Christ, God doesn't care what it costs to get to them. And that's what I tell people. I was like, if it cost me $100,000, if he told me to go, there's a soul there waiting, and I'm going to go. And he's going to make a way. He doesn't care if to drop $1 million on it, because I'm not paying for it. The Lord is paying for it. Now, he utilizes other people to help us get there, and people can be used in their ministry of giving to help us get there. And I believe that their reward is also in heaven, because it takes us all to get to that place. But we have to surrender that to the Lord. Like you said, it's loaned to us. And if we really believe that our finances are loaned to us, our material possessions, our children, all of that is on loan to us, then we freely give it back.
Yes. You can't outgive God either.
You can't.
He always makes a way.
That's exactly right.
Always makes a way.
Yeah.
When we got into that, when they asked me to come to this house, I'm going to tell you, and we had talked about this too, but there's a big difference between women and men.
Oh,
men don't know what they're doing when it comes to the women, right? They don't even need to try to pretend. And so it really does take not just one woman, it takes a community of women. And it's so, and it takes people that are strong in their recovery and in their walk with the Lord.
Yes.
And so, I don't ask these women to do anything that I don't do.
Yeah.
And it is about surrounding them with, healthy women.
That's right.
And
knowing how to do, like what you were saying before, like knowing how to do those basic things and being that self-aware, like what that analogy used about the dish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like knowing, like, who's going to take care of that?
Yes.
Who's responsible for that?
Yes. It's learning to, we were like little tornadoes whipping and whirling through life.
Yeah.
I mean, not, when it stops, oh, well, this is grand. The wind's not blowing. No. What about all the destruction you just caused?
Right.
And so when we come in, we're so self-disciplined, we don't even realize that putting an empty cup in the sink and walking away, like, who's going to clean that?
Right.
If you just sit it there, who are you expecting to clean?
Right.
So that's one of the things that we try to really, what we do always affects somebody else.
Right.
And you have 9 women living in a house. Everything you do is going to affect the next person.
And if everyone is not thinking about the next person, boy, that piles up quick with that many people in a house.
Yes.
So you have to be so self-aware with that. And I think, like, just teaching people in general to be kind and loving each other well. And it is so hard to teach in our culture, because we teach each other to just do you.
Right.
Just think about yourself. And even me and my pastor, I've had this conversation about even the entitlement in the church, where people walk into a church where they expect it to be the right temperature and the seats to be just the right comfortability, and there to be a worker in the nursery that's certified in CPR, and and there to be a meal after church, and the bathrooms to be clean. But who's doing that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Who's paying for that?
Right.
Like, and they don't expect to have to give anything toward it, not their time, not their finances, not their resources, but they want all of those things, or they'll go to the next church. And then who's doing it there? They think, I don't know, do you think the government's paying for all of this? Because they're not, because churches are supported by the people.
Right.
And so it's like that, it can flood over. It's not just an addict issue. It's a people issue.
Yeah.
And if you're not, like, embedded with the Word of God, and you're not realizing that it is about loving God and loving people, and everything we do needs to be about loving God and loving people, then if we're taking from the next person. And if we're giving, we're giving to the next person. So we have to choose: are we going to be the consumer, or are we going to be the contributor?
Right. And so, and that's we've been takers our whole life.
That's right.
Now let's give back. You're not just, and it's the same with the houses. They have to pay a certain amount to live there. Everything's covered, but it's not about giving a handout. It's about giving a hand up.
Right.
And now we're going to be self-supporting.
Yes.
We're not going to depend on, we're going to work toward these things. And it is, some of them, it's been hard. They haven't worked for years.
Yeah.
So, but it is about taking your mentor out to eat. Not expecting your mentor to pay every time.
Yeah.
And it's just being of service, going to Loaves and Fishes, serving,
right,
getting out of self. So it's more than just, let me get sober and how I'm going to live here. I mean, there's a whole lot to it. And we do have to be patient, and we do have to be, gentle at times, but then you have to be assertive at times too.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the book of James. No, it's Jude that talks about we have to know when to snatch some out or to be gentle with them. And because some need one way and some need another. Yes. And so you have to have that discernment of which ones need which, and that does take a lot of love and patience. Yes. To be able to identify which is which when it comes especially to addicts, because they can be manipulators. That's what they've had to do their whole life. But what did you say the other day?
Can't con a con. Right? You spot it, you got it. Yeah. All those things, you know.
You've been there, you know.
So, yeah. And, and recently we had a booth donated to us at an antique store, Bluebird.
Yeah.
She's wonderful. And so it's about, people donate, and it's whatever profits we make off of that goes back into the house. We light some carpet.
Yeah.
It's about teaching these ladies, because it's not easy doing a booth. I mean, it can be.
Yeah, you got to keep it up.
But it's just about paying our way. Mm-hmm. We're paying our way.
Yeah.
About a year ago, I stepped into a position in the ministry to help Larry, Pastor Larry. I do the applications, I do the office work and stuff like that. So, that takes some time too, but I love the ministry. I love what it's about, and just watching it. And God knew what he was doing when I said, I don't have time to go do this.
Yeah.
And not everybody understands. I mean, I've lost people I thought were my friends.
Yeah.
You shouldn't push things on it. Well, these people know it's Christ-centered when they agree. They know what is expected of them when they agree to come to the house.
Right.
And I really feel this is the way the Lord has called me to do. 7 years ago, he said, you're going to start a meeting. It's going to be a 12-step, but it's going to be a life recovery.
Yeah.
And we prayed on it for about a year, and it's been going for 7 years. Everybody needs that. It's not just for addicts. It's for anybody with life issues, grief, relationships. And, but our higher power is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's not of who we want it to be.
Yeah.
So I would have never known that if I hadn't have experienced, where he started me in that 12-step group years ago.
Yeah.
So he knew what he was doing. He knew I needed that to come to him. Because if I'd have just got thrown in, maybe it wouldn't have been the way it was.
Yeah.
But regardless, he is the way.
Yeah.
He's the way.
He is.
And so I had a very hard time in working for the state of Missouri because I can't always get on board with things. If it's against my belief, then that's probably not where I need to be.
Right. Exactly.
So it's complete abstinence, no marijuana maintenance, because then I do shut off that connection with God. So I'm old school when it comes to a lot of that.
Yeah.
But
you also have experienced it. It's not coming from someone who hasn't walked it.
Right.
And I think that has to count for something.
Yes.
It's not like you're just pulling this out of the sky somewhere, and I think a lot of times those rules are made from people who haven't walked the journey.
Yes.
And I think
exactly.
So that's a little scary, actually.
It is scary.
And when you're a person of faith, you understand something, so I think that's some wisdom that comes from that. But I think like working from the perspective of someone now working at this house, and you and Pastor Kathy both have done an amazing job there of just producing a house that is a home there, and you guys do meals together, and you decorate amazing. Even what you guys have done at the church is amazing. And we haven't talked about this, but you guys actually bought our original Mission 180.
God had a hand on that.
That was such a crazy thing.
That's been 2 years now.
That's crazy.
I can't even believe it. How I was able to watch it all take place, like who was selling here, who was moving into this position, and I was just like, never did I think we were going to be the one,
That is so crazy.
How it just God's timing. He, sometimes he just shows it.
He does.
And other times you just got to
and
faith.
It just happened at such a weird time. But, when we were moving out of that building and, we had just built our new church building, and then that opportunity opened up for us to be in the NECAC building. And we're like, well, that's really close to the church. And we knew we were going to be moving into a house and out of it because we'd lived in the church. And we knew we wanted it to stay in a ministry's hand. And we had an opportunity to sell to a restaurant. And it just hurt my heart. I was just like, Lord, I just don't think that's what you want us to do. And we had put blood, sweat, and tears in that building.
Oh, yes.
And our own money and our own time, and converting that church into our ministry center, and living there. That was our home too, And so it hurt my heart to leave it, but it was hurting even more to think it was going into somebody's hands that might make tacos.
Right.
And I was just like, I just don't think this is what the Lord wants. So whenever I heard through the grapevine that it might be you guys, I was like, oh Lord, that would just make my heart soar to know that it would go to someone who was doing kingdom work. And so to see that you guys got it and then took it to another level, like that just blessed me so much.
We started in a hallway, right? Kathy said, I'm just going to do this till God sends somebody. 10 years later, we're comfortable down in Frankfurt, right? We're comfortable there. We never had to borrow money. We just kept tearing walls down. It was comfortable.
Yeah.
And then that, was sold, and we're like, oh, right at the right time. And he's given us a beautiful place to worship.
It is so
Not
beautiful.
just that, but, that's my office downstairs.
Close to where you guys are with the Harvest House. It just was the
lovely.
perfect place at the perfect time. And I'm just so grateful that the Lord used us to like build it and then
Yes.
connect the dots with you guys. And because when we got it, it was a mess. But he gave us a vision, and and you guys just finished it and took it to another level, and are continuing to do God's work there. And I just love it. And I love that we are continuing to work together, and you and Pastor Kathy mean so much to me, and us meeting now for lunches. I love it
Me
because
too.
we need it. We need each other, and we need to have safe places to have conversations about what we're going through in ministry, to be able to talk. And because we go through hard things too.
Yeah.
In ministry and in our own families.
Yes.
And it's not always safe to talk in our spaces. So being able to have people that we can respect and know that you guys will keep those things confident, within your little circle, and be able to speak and pour into each other and pray means a lot to me.
We have to have somebody that's not emotionally entangled
Yep.
in our stuff.
Absolutely.
That's not connected to.
Yeah.
And I don't want people in my life that are just going to sugarcoat
Yep.
and, cash my check, so to
Yes.
speak, and just tell me whatever. I want
Exactly.
truth. I want people that are going to call me out
Yep.
or tell me. That's how we grow.
That's exactly right.
And,
Because that's how it sharpens. I mean,
it
there's
does.
some
Iron,
rubbing.
Yeah.
There's some
iron
rubbing
sharpens.
when that's right.
And one thing you can determine with Kathy, she's going to tell you whether
Good.
you like it or not. And I couldn't do anything without her. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that she was like, yeah, I'll come and help you with the meal. Never did she expect it. Never did I
Yeah.
expect it. But, these women, it's just about building this community around them.
And when you see her in the house, it just looks like she belongs there.
Yeah,
Like
she does belong there.
It looks like
they're
this is her house, and these are her people.
The women love her,
Yeah.
and she's still the pastor,
Yeah.
And so there's something to it. If you really want to see people build that life that they're not wanting to trade in, it's that firm foundation, and it's just giving them something. Now, our church isn't for everybody. We get it.
Sure.
But there's something about it.
Yeah.
There's something about that it works for us.
That's
It
right.
works for people like us.
That's right.
I would say 90% of the people have been to prison or recovering.
Mm-hmm.
My husband will have 20 years in July of continuous sobriety. I just celebrated 15 years in February. It's not about that, but it's about, wow, look what God has done.
Mm-hmm.
He brought us back together in church.
Yeah.
Because we ran, the house we live in was, it was not a house of worship. I can assure you. There was a lot of things that, in that lifestyle. My children have been raised in that. My grandchildren has been raised in that home, and it's not even the same as what it was, 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
So, we had talked too about blending our families. My daughter, I had Reagan, and then he had Josh and Connor, and then in the last couple years, Taylor, a biological daughter that they hadn't really known each other. God has brought in, and I prayed from day one, that God would work that out, and it didn't happen overnight,
Right.
And it's a slow process, but she's ours, and I'm keeping her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm keeping that girl.
That's so beautiful, though.
And I always joke, like, Johnny and I had kids together, it would be you.
Yeah.
Because you're just like us. But it's God's timing.
Absolutely.
We get together once a month, all of us, my kids, and we have 8 grandkids together. And
there's just a sweetness in that, though. There's a sweetness in that reconciliation and the grace that's come from your children and for you. And, there's a gratitude that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't walked through what you walked through.
No.
And I think that builds such strong bonds in a family that you couldn't have any other way. because you appreciate stuff.
Oh my!
You
yes.
appreciate things now when you look and can slow things down and look in your grandkids' eyes. And I know sometimes you probably have that little bit of an ache of wishing like, oh, I wish I could have been there,
Yes.
When you weren't. But then realizing that, Lord, He's got grace to cover all of that, and it's sufficient, and because I have that too. I was so young when I had my first one, and I was with an abusive first husband. And I feel like I missed so much in the first years because it was just surviving, but I'm so thankful that the Lord kept me through that time. And now whenever I watch my grandson run around, I'm just like, whoo, slow it down. I just want to soak it all up.
It is. It's just God has just given us those, those blessings.
Yeah.
And, by all rights, they could have so many resentments towards us that they wouldn't even want to be around us.
Yeah.
And
it happens all the time.
It does.
Where kids just don't want to be around their parents.
It really does. And it's hard for especially the women, because a lot of these women are coming in, they haven't even been able to see their kids or talk to their kids.
Yeah.
I was blessed. Johnny was blessed. Or, their other parents were stable and, and, gave them the things that we fell short in. But, you just... These women, I watch them get their children back. I watch them get them back in their lives, and that's what we got to think about when they're coming in, like you got to just see them where they're at. And all right, what is their needs? Well, they haven't seen their kids for however many years, Mother's Day isn't going to be easy for them.
Right.
On those birthdays, those anniversaries. But it's just...
And there's a lot of regret.
It's so much regret. And we could get sucked into that so much.
It's easy to relapse thinking about that regret and fall into the temptation of being condemned, feeling the condemnation of the enemy that wants to shame you for what's happening. But, if you can rise above that and just know how much the Lord loves you, and how he wants to bring beauty from it, even though,
Yeah. I mean, like Johnny and I he went to federal prison. I, was into my stuff. And, the statistics isn't very good when it comes to us. But like I said, we started attending a church together and at the same church. And, and I just, as time went on, I'm like, Lord, if this is what you have in mind for me, you're going to have to change my heart.
Yeah.
Because... by that time, I was determined nothing was going to take me off of where I'm at with the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
We've been...
because you build a life.
We built a life, and with Him in the center, every morning He prays over me. Every night He prays for us, and that's how it's been the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's the number one thing to really, for people like us that are selfish and self-centered, to actually be a good spouse, to have a healthy relationship, is to put Christ in the middle.
You have to.
In prayer, we will weave around Him. And, so He's doing something.
Yeah.
And we want to be an example to our children and our grandchildren. And I want to be there, to help them in any way that I can.
Yeah, and when you build that life, like you said, and what we can just close up with this is, like, when you build that life, and how did you say it? Build a life.
You're not willing to trade in.
Build that life that you're not willing to trade in. Like, that's when you'll start roasting every excuse. Like, I'm not going to make any more excuses. I'm just going to do whatever it takes to build that life, and then you'll start setting goals, and you'll make it happen, and you'll start giving yourself up and surrendering that self to be able to go after that life, and I think the Lord is going to be with you every step of the way. I know He will. And He's done that in your life, and He's doing it in these women's lives and these men's life in this program that you guys have, that He's blessed you guys with, and He's going to keep doing it. He's going to keep doing it, and He's going to do it in these programs that the Lord's bringing in the community, as long as we just keep giving of ourselves and be willing to surrender ourselves, because that's how the kingdom grows.
Yes.
It just grows.
And you may lose people along the way. They're not going to understand, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
You have, and it's not I got to keep eye out of it.
Right.
Because this is what the Lord is doing. I'm not doing it. Just use me, however you want. you know.
Yeah.
And I want to stand before him, and I want him to say, good job.
Yeah.
You know, good job.
Yeah.
I want to be pleasing to him.
That's right.
Because I've been pleasing to myself for so many years.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I think he's going to say, well done, Shauna.
I pray he does.
Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for all your time.
Yes. It's been great. I loved it. Thanks for the coffee.
Yeah, we almost finished our coffee. But thank you guys for joining us today on Boom Roasted. I hope you watch this episode and all the episodes, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or if you like the Audible versions, you can catch it on Prime or Spotify or all the other Audible platforms. So you guys have an amazing day, and I hope you have a great cup of coffee.